Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be working on my Camaro Zl1 1Le, aka Zl1, and I know it's been a while with these Camaro videos, but I'm back with them. So today's installation, I have to be honest, it is going to be very time consuming. It's going to take creativity and patience. That, if I have to tell you the truth, I'd rather do some engine work than do this. But I know that once this is done, it's going to be completely worth it. But before we get into today's video, I have a giveaway for those of you that are Camaro fans or just like cars in general. I think you would really like this, so let me show you what that is. So this is the giveaway. It's a Camaro Generations poster. There's going to be 3 winners. Now, all you have to do to win is comment the year and the trim of each generation. Now, you don't have to say the year range. With saying one of the years of that generation is completely fine. Like I said again, there's going to be a total of 3 winners. Now, if you don't win the giveaway, I do have some good news because this poster is available on DRVNFAST.com, and I also have the same generations poster for the Mustang on that website, DRVNFAST.com. I'm also working on one for the M3, for the Challenger, the GTR, and also for the Corvette, even though I don't have one yet. All these designs are original, designed by me, but I have to give Chris some credit because he is the artist on Illustrator, but directed by me. Now, before I show you what we'll be installing on the Camaro today, I want to say happy birthday to Eric Yo. He's one of my supporters on Patreon, and even though by the time you see this video, it's going to be a few days after, I still wish you a happy birthday, and I hope you had a great one. But now let me show you what we'll be installing on the Camaro. Now this is an Apr Splitter, and I already know you guys are probably like, that's it? That's what you're worried about? You can just easily slap that onto the stock splitter and then call it a day. Well, no, it's not that simple because it does involve a little bit of custom work because as you see, it doesn't have any holes. So I'll have to drill those holes on the splitter. So that's what I mean by the bit of custom work that I'll have to do. So that means I have to align this. And by the way, this is a real carbon fiber. So I really don't want to mess this up because if not, then it's just all my fault. And these rods, I'm going to be attaching the rods to the crash beam, but in reality, you can attach them to the bumper. It all comes down to preference. I'm choosing to attach them to the crash beam because the Camaro is a heavily tracked car, so I just really want that extra support just to make sure that they really stay on there. And I don't know, just to me, I feel like they're better off in the crash beam than at the bumper, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so let's get started. First step is going to be removing the wheels, and that's just so I can have more access and I can easily work behind the bumper, which leads me to the second step, which is removing the bumper. And then after that, the real work begins. So the bumper may be a little bit tricky because I checked the service manual and they only have the steps to remove the bumper for a Zl1. So there may be extra steps, but I'll see as I go. So let's get started with this. Now, before I remove the bumper, I need to remove these fins. Now, these are just to redirect air, and I don't know if the Zl1 has these. I don't think so, but I may be wrong, but there's 5. So there's 2 on this side, then 2 on the other side, and then this large one right here in the front. Now, since they do have a lot of bolts, once I take them off, I'll just line them up over there next to the garage door, just close to the garage door, along with the bolts, because I honestly don't want to lose these bolts. I don't want to mix them up because like I said, that's a lot of bolts. So I'll just make sure to properly have them along with the fin once I take them out. Now the next step to remove the bumper are removing some bolts that are here on the side. So I just have access right here with the few bolts that I removed from the wheel weld. And I'm not sure if you guys can see that bolt right there. So that's one bolt, but there's 4 in total going up. So there's 3 more right here along the side, a little bit higher than that one. And then there's also this bracket. So there's 3 bolts here, 1, 2, 3. I need to remove that. And then I also need to disconnect this light. Now, for those of you that may be wondering, why don't I just remove this wheel weld so I can be a little bit more comfortable? Well, first of all, this wheel weld is not like your usual plastic ones. And it's not that simple. So it barely has any clips. It has this torque screws. It also goes all the way here under. I think I'm good just not removing it, and plus I think I have plenty of room here, plenty of access, at least just to get to those bolts that I need to remove from this side. Now, once I'm done removing those bolts from the passenger side, I'll move on to the driver's side, remove those bolts as well. Then I'll lower the car, open up the hood, and then remove the bolts on top for the bumper. Then I should be able to remove the bumper. So the Camaro bumper is now off, and what I ended up using just to roll it off from each side are these rhino ramps on top of these dollies, and that was pretty easy, just left, right, and then towards the front, and you can just pull it out pretty easy. Now, it really wasn't that bad as I expected. It was very simple. Now, this is how the Camaro looks without the front bumper. Now you can see all the coolers are exposed. And by the way, this is exactly what I was talking about in regards to the wheel wells. So you see how they extend this way out. It's not like your usual ones where it's just easier because they don't extend out. So I really wasn't trying to remove that. But in regards to the support rods for the splitter, so this is the crash beam, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. So I'll be attaching them here, which I already know that's going to be loads of fun, because I remember for the Shelby GT350, that was a lot of fun, and Chris and a neighbor actually had to help for that. So maybe they have to help again. I don't know, we'll see once we get to that step. But now comes the real work. So it's time to measure the bumper with the splitter. So I need to move the bumper on top of the splitter and then just measure it, align it, and just to see, well, just to check where the holes align at the bottom. So this step, I really have to be very careful, very precise, because then once I get all of the holes aligned, I'll have to mark them and then drill into it. And I can only do that once, so wish me guys luck. So I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that here you're getting a sneak peek at how the Apr splitter is going to look on the Camaro. I think it looks totally awesome. I told you guys that at the end, it's going to be completely worth it. It looks very aggressive. You guys, you know me, I like my cars to look aggressive. I love my cars to sound aggressive, but the main point of this Apr splitter is because it's functional at the track, which is mainly where I use this car. Now I have to admit, this is a bit too aggressive for street use. So I currently have the front lowered all the way, so it's lowered 10 millimeters. So since after I install this, I'm just going to raise it back up, because there's no way, this already extends a lot, so I'll just raise it back up, and then I think I should be fine. Now the bad news is that it looks like I haven't made any progress, but believe it or not, there has been progress. But at the end of the day, this ended up being a collaborative effort with Chris, just because this splitter install turned out being a lot harder than the GT350 one. I thought that since I had the experience with the GT350 splitter, then I would be able to do this by myself, but no. This isn't a surprise to me, because I knew it was going to take a lot of time and patience. So here we are. Now, another thing is that I won't be using these Apr support rods, which I kind of suspected, just because they're too short. The only reason that they're too short is because, again, I'm choosing to have the support rods come from the crash beam all the way to the splitter, but these will fit fine. Now the length is fine if you want to attach these from the bumper here on the sides, which is what a lot of people do. Now, it's just me, I just want them to come from the crash beam to the splitter. Now, luckily, I had these. So initially I had purchased these for the GT350 splitter install. They just didn't work out because they ended up being too long. Now these are much longer than the APR support rods, and they're almost perfect. So they work, they're almost perfect. The only thing is that I will need a spacer, which is again the same thing that I did with the GT350 splitter install. And the only thing is that it is pretty late and everything's closed. So for today, this is where I stop. And another thing that I wanted to show you is that, you guys, right here in front of the bumper, I'm not sure if you guys can notice, but you do see that crash beam right there, because this part is what's on there that covers it. So since I want the support rods to come attached from the crash beam to the splitter, I have to remove that part, just because if not, I wouldn't be able to attach them to the crash beam. Now, it's not noticeable at all, mainly because of the color of the car. So if it's not this color, black or like dark gray, then you would be able to see that crash beam and your eyes would directly go there to the center and you'll be able to see it. But again, since I really want these support rods to come from the crash beam, so even if I had, say, a red or even a shot green ZLE, I would still do it. And I think that would look cool. But this is where I end it, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Wow is all I can say, because this job ended up being a lot harder because it was a lot more involved than I had planned, than I had thought it would go, just because, like I mentioned before, this splitter didn't have any holes. It wasn't like the GT350 where I already had the pre-drilled holes. So at the end of the day, it ended up being a 3-person job. Yes, 3 people. So my neighbor and Chris ended up coming and helping me out. So let me show you exactly everything that went on. As you can see, we ended up using these 2 tables just to move it here. And this was done many times over and over, just because we had to measure it, we had to align it in order to mark the holes. These are the wheel wells. So this is exactly what I was referring to earlier, where it extends out. All these clips right here, you see all those clips, all of those clips are bolts. So that means those are just holes that I need to drill to the splitter. So you can imagine how it took several times just to really align that, really have that exact, because like I said, it's only one time that you can drill. If not, that's it. So let me just show you here. There's a total of like about 31 holes. So there's, I think, 12 on this side, 12 on this side, and then the rest are here in the middle. So that was a lot of fun, let me tell you. And then this bumper was placed on top, I don't even know, countless times, honestly, guys. All 3 of us were just putting it on and off just to, again, align it and try to mark the holes, which came another issue here, just because once we had the bumper on top, it was really hard to like mark it in order to mark the holes that needed to be drilled. So my neighbor Chris came out with something very interesting. So they got paint, which is right there. So that's house paint right there. And then he used my hair clip, and they ended up dipping my hair clip into the paint and then marking the areas for the holes. So I was pretty creative, just because we couldn't get anything, like we couldn't get a marker, we couldn't get anything else other than this hair clip, which is, you can see how that is very small. Now the second thing were these support rods. So like I said, I wanted them here on my crash beam. So at first we were going to have these support rods towards the inside, so you can see how it was marked right here. But then once we came to the passenger side, we really couldn't have them towards the inside because this is the hole for the tow hook. So then we had to move them here towards the outside. Just like with the GT350, remember guys, I told you that I had to go to Home Depot today. By the way, I bought like about $35 in like spacers, well, many different types of spacers, bolts, screws, nuts, like $35, guys. You know, those things aren't really that expensive, but I just really wanted to make sure, you know, I didn't have to go again, especially since they closed early. So this is just like the GT350, where we have this spacer, and then we have these 2 other spacers inside. So there's one, and then here's the other one. So this is pretty much like this. So these two spacers are here and they're inside this bigger spacer. So inside this outer spacer. And this is pretty much just to really hold that bolt in place. So this is exactly what the GT350 has for the support rods and what this Camaro has now for the support rods. So this is the spacer. So not only that, now this spacer right here, it had to be cut. Just because if I would have left it the length that I bought it, then it really wasn't going to work out, because the moment that I would put the support rod, then it would be rubbing against the splitter part of the bumper. So we had to cut them. Now this is a custom size. So then there goes another mission. But luckily my neighbor had, let me show you right here, this saw machine here. I've never seen anything like this before. This kind of looks like a children's toy, and he's only used it to cut plywood. So that was very interesting, cutting that small little metal spacer there, but we got it done, guys. Here it just has, this is part of the support rods, and then of course here on the other end it has the bolt and the nut. Now this was very easy, just because you can see here has plenty of space and plenty of access to that. So now it's time to, first we're going to put the bumper, I'm going to put the bumper on the Camaro, then I'm going to put the splitter, and then the support rods. So then we should be done. I'm so happy we finally found a solution. Here it is, finally done. The splitter is in the car, it's installed. Now, about the only thing one person can do in this install is remove the bumper and put it back on. Everything else, you're going to need help. You're going to need another person with you. And that's exactly what happened with this Apr splitter. So after I put in the bumper, then I needed help with this, just because you really have to align it. Plus the bolts that I'm using are not the Apr bolts, because for many reasons, but one of the main reasons are because, I'm not sure if you guys can see those fins, but I showed it at the beginning, the fins that I had to remove first. So I really wanted those fins back on, just because they redirect the turbulent air around the wheels. And the Apr bolts, so those bolts don't fit in those brackets, so you wouldn't be able to put the fins. So that's why I'm using the bolts that I bought from Home Depot, and those are like skinnier and longer bolts. We had to figure out a way to put those fins there, but they're there now, so I'm happy with that. At the end of the day, remember when I said, yeah, you know, it's just going to involve a little bit of custom work? No, it's going to involve pretty much a lot of custom work, but I'm honestly really happy with how it looks. I think it's completely worth it. I mean, the car is already aggressive. It already has a very aggressive front end. Now this just adds to it. It gives it another layer. I like how it just, you know, adds more angles, which the car has tons of angles. I'm all about that. I already know some of you are probably going to ask me if I'm going to leave them this color or if I plan on getting black ones for it. And honestly, I think I'm going to leave it this color because I really like it. The color of my car is really subtle. It's not really eye-popping. And I mean, with all the black accents, I think if I were to get these support rods in black, I mean, it would kind of just get lost in it. And I really do like that you can see these. I think if you're a car in front and you see from the back, you're like, wow, what is that? It actually looks like fangs. I don't know. I just really do like it. So I think I'm just going to end up leaving them this color. If you guys remember when I installed the splitter on the GT350, I could barely put my foot underneath, and obviously this right now has a lot of space just because it's still on those wooden planks. So I still need to put it on the floor and see how low it's going to be. But I think the next mission is going to be to see if it actually clears my driveway, but I think I should be fine. If the GT350 clears it, then as long as I go sideways and slow, I should be good. But I can't stop looking at this. It looks spectacular. So for those of you that really like this Apr splitter and you really like a challenge, you want to go through this, I mean, go ahead, by all means, do you. But for those of you that don't want to go through this, then I would strongly recommend just to take it somewhere else and let them figure it out. I mean, you guys saw that 2 days, I don't even know how many hours. You guys are probably gonna ask, I lost count. I'm really tired, really exhausted. Now I just can't wait until these track days resume. I don't know when that's going to be, but it's gonna be completely worth it. And now that the Apr splitter is back on, if you guys remember, if you guys were following the GT350 build, then I'm pretty sure you guys can guess what's next. So now that we're done with the front, it's time to balance it out and then work on the back. I already know that there's mixed opinions about this. Some of you are like not fans whatsoever, and some of you don't even like that the ZL1 has a wing, but I mean, this is the ZL1 1Le, so it does have the wing. The only thing that I'm going to do is just make it, you know, a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, and it's just, oh, I can't wait. It's going to look so good. I already know I'm going to love it. I mean, I love this, so those two together, it's going to look killer. All right, so with that being said, guys, I am done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.